Hey kids, it's Mr. Fly here, hope you're well. Now, it's just a couple of weeks since I made a video on 4 years of ownership of the big GS, and I said that how happy I was with the bike and how I basically had 4 years of trouble-free riding with the machine. Well, I spoke too soon. I'm absolutely gutted. I've got a massive, massive issue with the bike. If you stick around and stay tuned, I'll tell you all about it. So, what sort of massive issue can he be talking about? I hear you scream. Well, watch this. Keep an eye on the back end of the bike. That's not right, is it? Absolutely no damping on the suspension whatsoever. It's completely shot. So what the heck is going on then? Well, very good question indeed. Turns out the rear shock has absolutely no damping on it at all. It's like riding a pogo stick. It's completely bizarre. There's no error code showing when I plug in the diagnostic tool. There's no error code showing whatsoever. Nothing showing on the dash, but when you try and set the ESA settings, you know, with these original liquid cooled bikes, you can set them for single rider with pillion or with luggage, etc. And the bike would adjust itself and go up and down. You can physically see the bike getting bigger or lower. Doesn't do that anymore. It's basically just not operating. It's an absolute nightmare. Anyway, I gave the guys at the BMW dealership a call and told them the symptoms, and they said that they thought it sounded like it was completely shot as well. So I was due, as you may recall, to take the bike in to get the fork recall done. So I asked them if there's any chance that they could actually sort the suspension out while it's in for the fork recall. The answer, not a chance. Anyway, it's a pretty sorry story, it has to be said. So there is some good news in this whole tale of woe. Not great, but there is some good news. You may remember on that 4-year review I talked about the troubles I'd had getting the fork recall done. Well, I did take the bike into the dealer last week and I've got that done now. So this is what the forks look like before the recall. If you remember, they've got that sort of rubber collar on the tops of the forks, and that was the issue that was prone to failure. After the recall's done, what they do is they fit these bushes, and it looks a bit like this once it's finished. Well, exactly like this, in fact. And you get these rather splendid-looking metal bushes fitted, which should fix that problem. So at least I've got that issue fixed. But unfortunately, that doesn't do anything for the suspension at the back of the bike. So back to my suspension issue then. So when I took the bike into BMW for the fork recall, they did in fact confirm that it was the rear shock that was completely shot. And they said that they were unable to fix it. All they could do was replace the shock. Unfortunately, they weren't in stock, and the new shock is £1,800. That's right, £1,800 for the shock on the back of the bike. Now, I often moan about the cost of these bikes. This one cost me in total about 18 grand. But that rear shock, it turns out, is worth 10% of the value of the bike. Absolutely outrageous. So, wasn't very happy, as you can imagine. So, and then the other thing was the BMW dealer wouldn't actually let me take the bike without signing a disclaimer because they said it was unsafe to ride, even though, of course, I'd been riding it for a few days beforehand as the suspension was failing. Anyway, I did sign a disclaimer. I did get the bike back home, and I hit the PC to see if I could get hold of a cheaper shock. So I went to my favourite online auction site, found myself a second-hand rear shock unit off a bike just like this for 200 quid in Italy. But needless to say, I clicked on order and got hold of that. So 200 quid instead of 1,800 quid I thought was a great deal. Phoned up BMW, said, I've got myself a cheaper shock. Can you fit it for me? And they said, unfortunately, we can't fit second-hand parts. Again, absolutely gutted. I mean, this is the legendary BMW service that we hear about. So, pretty disappointed in that. I have to say, pretty disappointed. You know, in their fairness, they've since said they probably could fit the shock. But anyway, in the meantime, what I did was phone my pal Nigel up at Motor Tune in Chesham, told him the story and asked if he would be able to fit the shock. And although he's not a BMW specialist, he's not fitted one before, he's pretty confident he can. So that is the plan. I'm going to go and see Nigel and get him to fit the shock. So fast forward a few days, and the shock's turned up. It's in this box here. Let me show you what it looks like. Okay, so here it is. This is the box that turned up all the way from Italy. 20 quid delivery, which I thought was pretty good. I think the actual shock, second-hand, I think it was 170 quid. Then the 20 quid, it was about 200 quid in total. And this is what you get for your money. It's a heavy old bit of kit. But as you can see, it's, you know, to my untrained eye, looks fairly straightforward. It just, you know, locates in the where the old shock was. Then it appears to be 2 plugs. Plug her in and away you go. It looks very solidly made. It looks as good as new. According to the guys that I bought it from, it's been tested. It is fully functional. It's from a model year exactly the same as my bike. So as far as I'm concerned, it should just plug in and work. But we'll find out if that is in fact the case. All right, so what I'm going to do now is stick the panniers on, get this down to Nigel, ride my pogo stick bike there, and see if we can get this fitted and see if it fixes this problem. So here we are, I've got the shock on board and the pannier, and riding on what I hope will be the last time I ride this bike with it feeling somewhat like a pogo stick. Even going at slow speed on this road, I can actually feel that shock bottoming out as I'm riding. It's horrible. So really looking forward to getting this done. Bit of major surgery required on the bike. Done a bit of research, had a look at the workshop manual to see what we've got to do. And well, it should be quite interesting, I think. So quite looking forward to watching Nigel at work. I'm sure he loves it when I do that. Right, so I'm going to take it very easy as I wend my way up to Motor Tune in Chesham. Let's see how this goes. So here we are up at Nigel's workshop up in Chesham. First off, you have to disconnect a load of cables so that you can then free up the rear frame and lift it right up so you can actually get access to that shock. As you can see, we've strapped it up. Looks bizarre like this. Just shortens the bike and looks quite bananas. We had the workshop notes to hand, so we were following proper BMW procedures. It was a right faff, but we managed to get the shock out. Well, that was easy, wasn't it? Let's hope so. Getting the shock back in, obviously just a reverse procedure of getting it out. A few wires to feed through. Much easier actually putting it in than getting it out. Reconnect some gubbins at the top end, put all the covers back, and then it's a case of getting the BMW diagnostic tool out and just calibrating it for ride height, and then we were done. So there we are, just leaving Nigel's workshop now, and I can't tell you how much better this bike feels. Well, I can tell you how much better. It feels absolutely brilliant in comparison. It's just amazing how I hadn't spotted that was the other shock was going bad. I think it must have degraded gradually and I just didn't notice it, because it just feels like a new bike now. Amazing. This shock that I got from eBay, 200 quid. Nigel charged me an hour and a half to fit it, which was fine because it was a bit of a faff, so that was 75 quid. So the whole thing done for about £275. Whereas had I gone down the BMW dealer route, £1,800 for the shock, plus fitting, call that, I don't know, 150. So you'd been looking at £2,000. So well worth finding yourself a decent local independent motorcycle mechanic. The other great thing is we did all the calibration tests and stuff on this, and you could hear the stepper motor working in the shock. You could actually feel the bike rising and lowering as I set the preload settings on it. Absolutely brilliant. And I'm not exaggerating to say this feels like a new bike now. It's feeling absolutely great. Chuffed with that, absolutely chuffed. Annoyed that it went in the first place at 19,500 miles, but pretty pleased at the outcome now. So it's on a soft setting at the moment, and it does feel like a beautiful settee. Let's go to hard, see what difference that makes. Yeah, I can already feel that it is much harder. It's great, you know, even with the original shock when I first bought the bike, I kind of struggled to feel the difference between the various settings, and it makes me wonder whether it's ever been right, because I can definitely feel a difference now. It's wonderful. Really, really chuffed with that. And what a beautiful day to be out on the bike as well. I think I shall go for a ride. Alright, that's it for this time. Hope you enjoyed that little story, and I'm glad the outcome was positive. And I look forward to speaking to you next time. Until then, this has been the Mr. Flyer. Cheerio.